Have you ever imagined what heaven's courtroom looks like? Forget the stern wooden benches and cold stone walls of our world. Picture something far grander, far more alive. Maryline Orcel's vision of Le Jugement des Anges invites us into such a place. It's a scene filled with light and celestial beings. At its center sits the great white throne, not a symbol of fear, but a beacon of pure, unblemished truth. We see angels, not as distant figures, but as participants in a divine process of justice. They stand before this throne, their existence weighed and measured. And surprisingly, we find ourselves there too, not as defendants cowering in fear, but as witnesses to a holy and magnificent event. This heavenly vision is not just a story about angels, it is a story about us. We are part of this spiritual reality, invited to observe the very workings of divine justice. Think about that for a moment. You, in your daily life, are connected to this eternal scene. The God who created the galaxies and set the stars in motion invites you to understand His heart. He wants you to see that His kingdom operates on principles of truth and righteousness. We are not outsiders looking in. We are spiritual beings, created in God's image, with a designated place in His grand unfolding plan. The throne represents God's ultimate authority, a place where everything is made right, and we are called to witness its glory and its goodness. Imagine the purity of that throne. It is white, the color of perfection, of a clean slate, of a new beginning. There are no shadows there, no hidden agendas, no room for deceit. It is a place of absolute clarity. When the angels stand before it, everything about them is laid bare, not to shame them, but to reveal the truth of their being. This is the standard of heaven. It is a standard of perfect love and untarnished holiness. Being a witness to this scene reminds us of the world we were truly made for. It's a world where justice is not a flawed human effort, but a perfect divine reality. This vision calls us to lift our eyes from our temporary struggles and fix them on the eternal truth of God's throne. As witnesses, our role is to watch and learn. We are shown the inner workings of God's kingdom so that we might understand our own spiritual identity. We are not just flesh and blood, living out a brief existence on earth. We are eternal souls connected to a heavenly court. This understanding changes everything. It elevates our perspective beyond the mundane and the ordinary. It tells us that our lives have a significance that echoes in eternity. We are not forgotten or insignificant. We are known, seen, and invited to stand in the presence of God's holy throne, observing the sacred dance of divine judgment and grace. It's a breathtaking invitation, one that redefines who we are and why we are here. The judgment of the angels, as described in this powerful vision, serves as a mirror for our own souls. It reflects a profound spiritual truth. We too are beings of authority and responsibility. We might not think of ourselves as powerful, but God has entrusted us with a measure of authority in our own lives. You have authority over your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Each day you make countless choices. You choose kindness or indifference. You choose honesty or deception. You choose to forgive or to hold a grudge. These are not small, insignificant decisions. They are exercises of the spiritual authority God has given you, and they shape the kingdom of your own heart. This idea of accountability isn't meant to scare us. It's meant to empower us. Imagine a king who is given a realm to rule. He is responsible for the well-being of his people and the state of his land. In the same way, we are responsible for the inner world of our souls. Are we cultivating a garden of peace, joy, and love? Or are we allowing weeds of bitterness, anger, and fear to take root? The judgment of the angels reminds us that our spiritual lives matter deeply to God. He is not a distant landlord, but a loving Father who is invested in how we manage the precious gift of our own being. Our accountability is simply the natural consequence of being created with purpose and free will. Every thought that crosses your mind is a whisper in the halls of eternity. Every action you take sends ripples through the spiritual realm. This isn't a call to perfectionism or a life of anxious self-monitoring. Instead, it is an invitation to live with intention. It is a call to recognize the sacredness of your daily existence. When you choose to speak a word of encouragement, you are exercising your divine authority for good. When you choose to pray for someone instead of criticizing them, you are aligning your heart with heaven. The angelic judgment shows us that spiritual responsibility is not a burden, but a privilege. It is the honor of partnering with God in bringing more of His light into the world, starting with our own hearts. Therefore, let this vision of heavenly justice inspire you to take your spiritual authority seriously. You are not a helpless victim of circumstance. You are a co-creator with God, given the power to shape your inner life. Every moment presents an opportunity to choose love, to pursue truth, and to act with integrity. This is our great and noble calling. The angels are held to account for their service, and we are held to account for ours. Let us embrace this responsibility not with fear, but with a joyful and willing heart, eager to honor the one who entrusted us with so much. Your life is a sacred trust, and you have everything you need to manage it well. When we hear the word judgment, our minds often jump to a harsh verdict, a gavel striking down with condemnation. We imagine a stern judge pointing an accusing finger. But the judgment that flows from the great white throne is nothing like that. It is a judgment born of love. It is not about condemnation, it is about purification. It is not about punishment, it is about transformation. Imagine a skilled jeweler holding a precious stone up to the light. He isn't looking for flaws to discard the gem. He is looking for impurities so that he can gently polish them away, revealing the stone's true, brilliant beauty. This is the heart of divine judgment. God's desire is not to cast us out, but to draw us closer. His judgment is a process of removing everything that stands in the way of our relationship with Him. It is the fire that burns away the dross, leaving behind pure gold. This process may feel uncomfortable at times. It requires us to face the parts of ourselves we would rather ignore, our selfishness, our pride, our fear. But it is always done with a loving hand. God sees who we were created to be, and His judgment is the pathway to becoming that person. It is an act of supreme grace, designed to set us free from the baggage that weighs us down and holds us back from our true identity in Him. Think of it as a divine recalibration. Our lives can easily drift off course, pulled by the currents of culture, comparison, and self-doubt. God's judgment is the gentle but firm correction that brings us back into alignment with His perfect will. It is the loving voice that says, "This is not who you are. Let me show you your true self." It is a process of healing and restoration. The great white throne is not a place of dread, but a place of hope. It is where we are cleansed, renewed, and made whole. It is where our true identity, hidden beneath layers of sin and brokenness, is finally revealed for all to see. This is not a judgment to be feared, but a transformation to be embraced. So let go of the worldly idea of judgment as a final damning sentence. Instead, see it as God's ongoing, loving effort to perfect you. It is His commitment to you, His promise that He will never give up on you. He will continue to polish, refine, and shape you until you reflect the glorious image of His Son. This is the good news of the great white throne. It is a symbol not of God's wrath, but of His relentless, redeeming love. It is a place where we are not condemned for who we have been, but celebrated for who we are becoming. It is a judgment that leads not to death, but to more abundant life. How then do we live in light of this heavenly vision? The key is to stay connected to the throne of God and to resist the other voices that clamor for our attention. Every day, we are bombarded by whispers of accusation and inadequacy. The voice of comparison tells us we are not good enough. The voice of past mistakes tells us we are not worthy. These voices do not come from the great white throne. They are echoes from the court of the accuser, designed to fill us with fear and shame. Our challenge and our victory lies in learning to distinguish God's voice of truth from these loud-mouthed imposters. Staying connected to the throne means intentionally turning our hearts toward God. It means starting our day not by scrolling through social media, but by sitting in quiet prayer. It means filling our minds with His Word, which reminds us of our true identity as beloved children. It means practicing gratitude, which anchors our hearts in His goodness rather than our own shortcomings. When we feel the weight of accusation, we can immediately turn to the throne of grace and find mercy. God's throne is not a distant reality for the future, It is a present help for today. We can access its peace and power at any moment, simply by turning our focus to Him. This awareness should transform our spiritual posture. We no longer have to walk with our heads down, burdened by guilt. We can stand tall, not in our own righteousness, but in the righteousness He gives us. This is the devotional heart of the matter. We are invited to live each day with a conscious awareness of God's presence. This presence is not a critical eye watching our every move, but a loving gaze that guides and encourages us. When we see our lives through this lens, our choices begin to change. We start to ask ourselves, does this action, this word, this thought align with the truth and love of God's throne? Let this be your call to action. Examine your inner life. Where are you listening to voices of accusation? Turn instead to the throne of mercy. Seek spiritual alignment in all you do. Let the eternal values of heaven, truth, mercy, justice, and love, become the foundation of your daily existence. Live as a citizen of heaven, a witness to the great white throne. Let its light purify your heart, guide your steps, and fill you with an unshakable hope. For you are a child of the King, and your place is in the light of His glorious presence, today and forever.